The Kansas City Chiefs enter the 2026 NFL season carrying something they have not felt in a very long time: urgency. For nearly a decade, the organization has been the standard of excellence in the NFL, reaching Super Bowls with astonishing consistency and building a dynasty around the extraordinary talents of quarterback Patrick Mahomes. But after the nightmare that was the 2025 campaign, everything has changed. A shocking 6-11 record, the franchise's first missed playoff appearance of the Mahomes era, and a devastating knee injury suffered by their superstar quarterback forced the organization to confront uncomfortable realities. The Chiefs could no longer rely solely on past success or assume that championship contention would happen automatically. They needed to evolve, adapt, and aggressively address the weaknesses that had slowly emerged within the roster. As a result, Kansas City attacked the offseason with a renewed sense of purpose, making significant additions through free agency, the NFL draft, and strategic roster adjustments. Yet even after all of those moves, difficult decisions still loom ahead. Mandatory minicamp concluded on June 11th, and with training camp rapidly approaching in late July, several players who once appeared safe now find themselves fighting to protect their futures in Kansas City. The encouraging news for the Chiefs is that optimism surrounding Patrick Mahomes continues to grow. The franchise quarterback remains ahead of schedule in his rehabilitation from the torn ACL and LCL he suffered late in the 2025 season, and there is increasing belief throughout the organization that he could be ready for Week 1. If Mahomes returns to full strength, it would immediately transform the outlook of the entire team. Even after an injury that ended his season prematurely, Mahomes remains the face of the franchise, the emotional leader of the locker room, and arguably the most gifted quarterback in football. A healthy Mahomes changes everything. His ability to elevate teammates, create magic outside structure, and perform under pressure gives Kansas City a chance against anyone. Pairing his return with the offseason additions the Chiefs have made could allow the team to quickly rebound from one of the most disappointing seasons of the Andy Reid era. But before anyone can think about playoff races or Super Bowl aspirations, the roster itself still needs to be finalized. And that means some difficult choices may be unavoidable. Perhaps no player on the Chiefs roster has experienced a more dramatic fall over the past year than cornerback Kristian Fulton. When Kansas City signed Fulton during the 2025 free agency period to a 2-year contract worth $20 million, there was genuine belief that he could become a major contributor in the secondary. While the contract itself did not place him among the league's highest-paid cornerbacks, it represented a meaningful investment from a front office that believed his talent could flourish in Steve Spagnuolo's aggressive defensive system. Fulton arrived with experience, physical tools, and the expectation that he would stabilize the cornerback room following various changes to the roster. Instead, his first season with the Chiefs turned into a nightmare. The problems began almost immediately. Fulton spent much of training camp on the physically unable to perform list while recovering from a knee procedure conducted during the offseason. Missing valuable practice time prevented him from fully establishing himself within the defense and limited opportunities to build chemistry with teammates. Just as it appeared he might begin settling into his role, disaster struck again. Fulton suffered an ankle injury during Week 2 of the regular season, sidelining him for multiple weeks and creating an opening for younger players to step forward. That opportunity was seized by rookie cornerback Noel Williams. Williams impressed coaches with his confidence, instincts, and ability to compete against NFL competition despite his inexperience. What initially looked like a temporary replacement gradually evolved into something much more significant. By the time Fulton returned from injury, Williams had essentially stolen his place in the starting lineup. The rookie's emergence not only altered the immediate depth chart but also changed the long-term outlook at the position. Unfortunately for Fulton, the situation has only become more complicated throughout the 2026 offseason. Following the departures of Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, many expected Fulton to step into a larger role within the defense. Instead, the Chiefs sent a very different message through their actions. During the NFL draft, Kansas City aggressively traded up to select LSU cornerback Mansour Delane, widely viewed as one of the elite defensive prospects in the entire class. Delane projects as an immediate starter and potential cornerstone piece in the secondary. Shortly afterward, the Chiefs reunited with former standout L'Jarius Sneed, adding another experienced and proven defensive back to an already crowded room. Suddenly, the competition became overwhelming. With Delane projected to start on the outside alongside Noel Williams, L'Jarius Sneed capable of playing multiple roles, and Kader Kovu entrenched as a valuable slot defender, Fulton now finds himself searching for opportunities simply to secure meaningful playing time. The once promising path toward becoming a full-time starter has all but disappeared. That naturally raises a difficult question: could the Chiefs actually cut him? Financially, the answer is yes. Fulton enters the final season of his current contract carrying a cap hit of approximately $13 million. If Kansas City decided to release him before the regular season, the organization would save roughly $5 million in salary cap space while absorbing $8 million in dead money. While dead money is never ideal, the potential savings become increasingly attractive if Fulton cannot carve out a clear role on the defense. Training camp therefore becomes absolutely critical. Every practice rep, every preseason snap, and every opportunity to impress coaches could determine whether Fulton remains part of Kansas City's plans or becomes another casualty of the NFL's unforgiving business realities. Another veteran facing mounting pressure is offensive lineman Moore. While his circumstances differ from Fulton's, the stakes may be equally significant. Moore once appeared firmly positioned as an important contributor along the offensive line, but recent developments have dramatically altered his outlook entering training camp. Competition has intensified throughout the offseason. According to reports from observers covering the Chiefs, undrafted free agent Khalil Benson has quickly emerged as a player worth monitoring in the battle for the right tackle position. Benson's development has reportedly impressed coaches, and his presence introduces another challenger for Moore to overcome. Beyond Benson, Moore must also contend with ESA Pohl and several other reserve linemen fighting for roster spots. Suddenly, what once looked like a secure role has become a fierce competition. The Chiefs' recent actions suggest they are increasingly comfortable trusting younger players rather than clinging to expensive veterans. That philosophy became particularly evident when Kansas City traded tackle Wanya Morris to the Atlanta Falcons on June 11th. The compensation received in return was modest, emphasizing that the organization prioritized flexibility and future development over maintaining veteran depth at all costs. The move demonstrated a willingness to move on from players who no longer fit their evolving plans. Moore cannot ignore that reality. His contract presents an especially interesting dilemma. Entering the final year of his deal, Moore carries an enormous cap hit approaching $18.69 million during the 2026 season. For an established, productive starting tackle, such a figure can be justified. Offensive linemen capable of protecting franchise quarterbacks command significant salaries throughout the league. But if Moore fails to perform at the level expected of someone carrying that financial burden, his contract quickly transforms into a liability. From a purely business standpoint, moving on becomes much easier. This does not necessarily mean Moore is destined to lose his roster spot. In fact, the most likely scenario still involves him earning the opportunity to start at right tackle. He possesses experience and familiarity with the offense that younger competitors lack. However, the margin for error has undeniably shrunk. He must prove that he deserves both the role and the financial commitment attached to it. Otherwise, the Chiefs may decide their future lies elsewhere. Then there is perhaps the most complicated and emotionally charged situation of all, Rashee Rice. Only a short time ago, Rice appeared destined to become one of the foundational pieces of Kansas City's offense for years to come. His combination of physicality, toughness, and ability to generate yards after the catch made him one of Patrick Mahomes' favorite targets whenever healthy. Rice offered something unique within the receiving corps. He could break tackles, fight through contact, and consistently create explosive plays even on shorter routes. The Chiefs envisioned him evolving into their unquestioned number one receiver. Now, everything feels uncertain. Rice missed all of the team's organized team activities and mandatory minicamp after violating probation earlier this year. Reports indicate that he has continued working to maintain his conditioning while serving his sentence, but his absence from off-season activities remains deeply concerning. Development, chemistry building, and preparation all suffer when a player cannot participate alongside teammates. Rice is expected to be released from Dallas County Jail on June 16, leaving him with limited time to prepare before training camp opens. The challenge ahead is enormous. Beyond regaining football rhythm, Rice must demonstrate maturity, accountability, and the ability to avoid further off-field distractions. The central question becomes impossible to ignore. Can Rice still perform at a level high enough to outweigh the concerns created by his legal troubles? There is no easy answer. From a football perspective, cutting Rice would appear almost unthinkable. Kansas City desperately needs playmakers, particularly given Mahomes' recovery from a serious knee injury. Rice remains arguably the most talented wide receiver currently on the roster. Losing him would significantly weaken an offense already searching for consistency and explosiveness. Financially, however, the equation looks entirely different. Because Rice remains on a relatively inexpensive contract, the Chiefs could move on from him with minimal salary cap consequences. Unlike veterans carrying massive guarantees, Rice would not impose substantial financial pain if released. But football decisions rarely exist solely within spreadsheets. The Chiefs must determine whether they still trust Rice moving forward. They must evaluate whether his talent justifies the risks associated with repeated off-field concerns. They must assess his commitment, preparation, and readiness following his return. Ultimately, Rice's future may depend on what happens during training camp. If he returns focused, motivated, and dominant on the field, he could quickly remind everyone why the organization believed he could become one of the league's emerging stars. If inconsistency, distractions, or further concerns arise, difficult conversations may become unavoidable. As the Chiefs move closer toward training camp, urgency defines everything surrounding this organization. This is no longer the carefree dynasty that could simply assume another AFC championship appearance was inevitable. Missing the playoffs exposed weaknesses that could no longer be ignored. The front office responded aggressively, reshaping portions of the roster while attempting to build a team capable of supporting Patrick Mahomes during what they hope will be another championship pursuit. Yet every roster spot matters. Veterans once considered safe now face uncertain futures. Younger players are pushing for opportunities. Contracts are being scrutinized. Reputations are being tested. For Christian Fulton, training camp may represent his final opportunity to reclaim the promise that once accompanied his arrival in Kansas City. For Moore, it is a chance to prove he remains worthy of both a starting role and a substantial financial investment. For Rashee Rice, it may be about something even bigger, proving that his immense talent can finally outweigh the distractions that have threatened to derail a career filled with potential. The Chiefs still believe they can return to contention in 2026. A healthy Patrick Mahomes changes the ceiling of the entire franchise. The offseason additions have injected fresh energy and talent into the roster. The hunger created by last season's disappointment could become a powerful motivating force. But before Kansas City can focus on chasing another Lombardi trophy, difficult decisions must first be made. Training camp is approaching rapidly. Jobs are on the line. Careers may be altered. And for several members of the Kansas City Chiefs, the battle to survive the summer has already begun. Thanks for watching and see you next time.